Are going to continue. I'm losing track on what video this is. I've done number 4, number 5, so this would be number 6 that we're on. So basically I've made 3 separate videos breaking down HTML tag elements and HTML attributes. So if you are viewing just number 6, it may not make a lot of sense unless you've watched 1 through 5. So if you're a little bit confused, that is why. So you may want to go back and watch those in order. We're going to talk about elements and attributes in CodePen now. So I'm back live in CodePen. We were just talking about concepts and theories, and we met the characters of the box model construction company, and I broke it down according to the characters, hopefully for you to better conceptualize what is about to happen in the code. I am going to transfer a little bit into CSS today, or in this video, so that you can see what's happening, and then we are going to go backwards again in the next video and see how that actually connects to the characters in CSS, because we worked primarily with HTML in the last 2 videos. So, okay, we are going to start with P, just because it's a familiar one. This is a P tag. I have my start tag and my end tag, and I expect to have some kind of rendering in Mr. Viewport at the bottom that says this is a P tag. So you always want to check to make sure that what you are expecting to be the output on the viewport is in fact what's happening. Otherwise, there's something wrong with your code. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do another P tag. You don't, by the way, you don't have to put a space here. I do because it helps my code be more readable. I'm sure there's some kind of standard on that. I'm too new to know, but just so you know, that particular space doesn't matter. Okay, because I could type that there, and it's not going to look any different in the viewport than if I type that there. That, again, was a little confusing to me at first because I was so used to standard English, and I thought that it mattered if I entered. So spaces matter in certain contexts, but not in others. So that can get super confusing. So I guess my advice in that instance would be just pay attention to what happens after every keystroke or after every move that you make in your code, especially in the beginning. That way you can kind of conceptualize for yourself what may make a difference and what may not, and take notes if you have to. Okay, so then I'm going to make an H1 tag. Okay, let's notice here, we've worked with this P tag quite a bit, but we haven't really talked about what's happening or what we're seeing on the viewport, because we're going to also go into a little bit of an introduction on block elements and inline elements as we move through our tags and attributes. So I'm going to zoom in on this. A P tag. Okay, what do I see? I see some pretty standard text. Didn't really do too much. It's pretty plain, pretty normal. Not fancy, not bold, not italic. That's because the P tag, somewhere in the secret genius coders world, they have somehow prepackaged that tag to do that. So whatever content you put in the middle is going to be prepackaged the same unless you tell it to do something else. So that's the default. So I could just type a bunch of things there, and it's going to render my bunch of letters, but they're going to look visually similar. Okay. And I also notice that they're starting at the top left corner of the viewport. Okay, I'm just taking notes at this point. I'm kind of trying to do a talk aloud with you on how my thought process was, because I finally got so frustrated and I just threw in the towel and I said I'm done with code for a few weeks, and then I just couldn't, I just had the bug, so I had to go back to it. And I started slow like this. I started one at a time, and I said, okay, what just happened? And if I didn't understand what happened, I didn't move on. This is probably why it's taken me 2 years, but that's the reality of it. So, okay, I'm going to go back to actually make that say something sensical and not just, gobbledygook. So this is a P tag. I actually have conversations with myself in code, kind of my new best friend. All right, now I'm going to try a different tag because we've worked a lot with the same tag. So this is a NH1 tag. And again, you can find all of these in W3 schools. We'll go back in there shortly. But okay, now I want to notice what just happened. I just typed, I switched tags. That's all I did. I typed content. I did pretty much everything the same. I had a start tag, I had an end tag, but I changed the type of element tag that I was using. So, okay. All right. So I noticed a few things. It's bigger. It's a lot bigger. It's bold. It has more of a height this time than the top two. And height in the viewport means from top to bottom. Seems simple, but that concept's going to come into play as we get more into the box model and how things move on the page. All right, and it fell in line. So I have a top left box. Okay, I typed this one first. My line 1 came down first. Okay, my line 3 is next. My line 5 is next after that. And they're on 3 separate lines. Okay, I'm taking some observations as I go. All right, let's do the LI. That's a different tag, and I know I've said in other videos, this one kind of fascinates me. You can do a lot with lists, they're pretty cool. And you don't have to have bullets. You can remove those. Those are part of their prepackaged deal there with their attributes or properties. Okay, this is a list tag. Okay, I'm gonna make my viewport a little bigger so you can actually watch what's happening. Okay, and then I'm gonna make another one because lists just typically don't have one. This is a second list tag. Okay, I'm gonna make this bigger because for me, it's easier to see the whole box on one whole line. There is a way to word wrap in VS Code, which helps too, but we're not working in that today. But all right, so I have 4 boxes. I have a box on line 3. I have a box on line 5. I have a box on line 7, and I have a box on line 8. I know I have 4 boxes because I have 4 sets of tags. I have a start P, an end P, a start H1, an end H1, and so on. Okay, but they're starting to look a little different if I'm noticing in the viewport. Okay, the list, the prepackaged way that tag works, it seems like those genius coders have told that particular tag that anytime that Mr. Architect pulls that one out of his briefcase, it's supposed to have bullets. Okay, cool. That's the default. This doesn't have to be like that. There's ways that you can override and change that, but the default is bullets. The bullets fell in line right after the previous box, right after the H1 tag. So basically right now we have something that's left aligned going from the top to the bottom of the page. Okay, cool. All right, nothing too exciting happening yet. This process that I'm talking through, though, is part of what helped me understand why tags matter in HTML. And in fact, the more specific you get with your tags, the better sometimes the browser is able to read and understand what's going on, at least from an accessibility standpoint. So if you have users that need to have the read alouds or those kind of things in there, it will help the browser. Ooh, excuse me. All right, let's go image. No, let's go span. Okay, I'm going to make a span tag now. And I'm going to see what happens with this one. This is a span tag. Okay. Huh. I did everything the same. I'm going to start tag, end tag. I have content in between. But if you notice, okay. All right. These two have a pretty big space. I mean, if I'm looking at it right now, it's about thumb space. If I put my thumb there, thumb space, thumb space. Okay, there's no real space when the list starts. I wonder why that is. I don't really know. No real space between the bullet and this one. Okay, that's weird. Real weird. It seems like that span tag got real squished below. I don't know why that would be. I guess we'll have to find out later. So let's just take note for that for now. Okay. I've seen this image tag a ton because I see images all the time in code. This is an image tag. I don't like the image tag because he doesn't follow the rules. And in code, I like the rules. They comfort me a little bit. That's partly why I like it, because it's puzzles. Image tag does not have an end tag. I don't know why. It just doesn't. I'm sure there's some reason for it, but just note that it's a weirdo tag. It has a start tag, but it does not have an end tag. Okay, let's see what rendered. What has happened here? Okay. They're on the same line. Did I mess something up? No, man. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I really do know. But when I first started coding, I'm like, well, what just happened? Did I mess something up? I genuinely felt like I had messed something up because I couldn't figure out why everything came out looking all sloppy. And I'm like, well, this doesn't look like a website at all. What am I even doing here? This is not web coding. But you are. You're creating the framework. This is just the blueprint for what you're then going to decorate or add action to later. So just trust the process right now. And I didn't. I thought I had failed and I couldn't code and I had no idea what I was doing. So just know you're not alone if that's what you're thinking. All right, so I'm going to pick another tag, button. Okay. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, all kinds of crazy things have happened now. All right, kind of cool things though. So for whatever reason, this tag, whatever geniuses decide to code these tags, they attached it to a default of, it looks like almost like a gray rectangle, buttony looking thing, and it has a blue. So I didn't add any styling to this at all. If you look up in my code, I mean, it's empty. I did not do anything else. That is the coolness of HTML elements or tags. They just have a whole bunch of prepackaged information that the browser knows what to do. It takes that tag as an input and it says, oh, I've got me a button tag. This is what I have to do. And it knows how to style that naturally. So if you want to keep those defaults, you can. If you want to change them, that's where CSS and JavaScript then will come in, because you're going to want to do something different than what the default tag tells the browser to do. Okay, so there's that. Now, where do I want to go next with this? Let me think. Okay, let's go this route. We're going to go into, we already know that we're going to add some attributes because I want to add some styling here to show you a little bit about block and inline, but we need to add some attributes in order to do that. So since we already worked with title, or in my video before this, we're going to work with title again, and it doesn't really matter what you decide to title it, but that's what we are going to use. So I'm going to put title attribute. So this is introducing the envelope messenger, classy. Okay, now we have a smooth operator. I'm going to bring this down just for a minute while I type my attributes, because they're not, I know it's not going to change anything, and I'll show you. This is what it looks like before I add attributes. Okay, take notes, take screenshots, whatever you have to do. I'm adding attributes only right now, and it's not going to do anything. Okay, so I'm going to join a title attribute to this particular P tag. Okay, so I'm going to pick the title attribute, and let's call it number 1. I don't know. It could be whatever you want. Call it some crazy name. Okay. All right. So I have a title attribute within my start tag, and then I have my content, and then I have my end tag. And you see that it's kind of getting all wonky. When I first started coding, I couldn't deal, because for me and with my brain, that just does not make sense. So I always make this window a little bit bigger so that I can see it in one line, because in my head that makes sense. That's still one box, even though I added a title attribute. Okay, we're not going to add another attribute to the second one because I'm kind of sick of this P tag. We use that one a ton. I'm over him. There's too many other options. Okay, there is another attribute that we could use. Okay, let's go back to W3 schools. And we are on the H1 tag. So I am under HTML tags. That's where I'm at. And I've already showed you how to get here in previous videos. So if you don't know how, please go through those. Okay, I'm going to click on H1 through H6. This is how I'm figuring out what attributes I can use with particular tags, because not all attributes can be used on all tags. There's different rules and different sets and all kinds of things that you'd have to use W3 schools for, because I don't know all of them. Okay, I'm going to scroll down, and right here is where you're going to want to look. So I have a tag of H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, or H6. I can use any of those tag elements. I can attach global attributes to them or event attributes. Events are what we were talking about in JavaScript the past couple nights in class. We're not going to go there yet. Just know that they exist, and this is where you can find them. Those are more of the actions on the page. They belong in the washing machine area, not in CSS Decorator or Mr. Architect's job in the laundromat. So we're going to click on global attributes, and that will tell me any of the global attributes that I can use for the H1 tag. So I don't know what half of these are. If I sat and practiced long enough, I could probably figure them out, but it does give you a description on what they do, okay? So I'm going to use ID because I see that ID is the one that we have worked with before, and we're going to attach that particular attribute to my code. So let's go back. Attribute that I am attaching. All right, now we are going to put ID in, which is how I lost. Let's save this so I don't do that again. Oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my mind. All right, so we decided to use the ID attribute, which is where we paused before I had to redo everything. And we are going to use the smooth operator, the equals sign, to tell that attribute that we have more information that needs to be joined or placed into the envelope, the ID envelope. Let's give this one a name. Let's call it header title. Okay, so now we have those attached, and we'll spread that out. All right, for the list items, let's go back into W3 Schools again, and we're gonna see what kind of fun attributes we can find. We might find one that I don't even know what it does. That'd be kind of fun. All right, so I'm gonna scroll back down in the list elements, and I am going to click on, again, we have our events that I could use in the future in case you need those, but we're going to use global for now because that's what we've been talking about. All right, this one looks pretty fun. Spell check. Never used it. No idea what it does. It says specifies whether the element is to have its spelling and grammar checked or not. I don't know. Probably has something to do with the browser's ability to spell check, or who knows. But I'm going to click here because I know that will give me more information. And this one happens to have two attributes on it: content editable. I'm not going to use that one because I can't pronounce it, but let's do the spell check. I don't know, looks fun. So it looks like it has an attribute of spell check, and this is the Boolean values that that Zvonimir has been talking about in class. It could be true or it could be false, it looks like. So it must be an on-off capability somewhere, probably built into the browser, whether or not you can spell check, yes or no. So let's put, and again, who knows? I honestly could be wrong. I have no idea. Oh, I think I figured out where my code went though. My pen. I think I did have it on another window. Oh well. All right. So let's put spell check attribute in. And I think it's kind of cool that it goes yellow because it's an attribute. I'm like, okay, for a visual learner, hello, that's awesome. So spell check means that I've spelled my attribute right. It recognizes that as an actual real attribute. So for this attribute though, it didn't look like I had much choice. If you go back and look here, this is not an attribute that you're going to type whatever you want like that's here. So we're going to put true in. I'm assuming that probably true and false are probably the only two options. Okay, so let's put true. All right. Then let's go down to span. We're going to use a class that we know, or I'm sorry, an attribute that we know exists because we talked about it in the last video. That way we don't have to keep going back to W3 Schools, but you could if you wanted to. Let's call this one interesting because it did something interesting in the line. Okay, you can call that one whatever you want. Image. I don't really know a lot about the image sources. We talked about it in the last video, but I always kind of forget, to be honest, like how the image works because it's a wonky tag. It's wonky because it doesn't have a closure, and you have to be really picky with how you put in the different links. So the most typical use is source for this image and alt. So we're gonna stick with that. So that way it makes sense to you guys. So we're gonna do image girl JPEG. If you watched my last video, that's the same one that we did. Okay, so let's go inside the start tag again. All attributes are going to start or stay inside the beginning tag. So we're going to put source. That's my attribute this time. And I'm going to bring in my joiner, my assignment operator, my smooth operator. And I am going to, this time, I got to put something here. I can't just make up whatever I want. I have to tell the machine that it has to go somewhere. That's the point of this particular attribute. It needs to link to a different source. So, I forget what was it, image girl.jpg. That's where we're at. Image girl.jpg. There can be lots of different types of links, okay? So the setup is the same no matter what type of attribute I'm using. They're all going to end up looking yellow if I type them in right. And I'm going to turn that off, guys. Sorry. Like, no one ever texts me, but apparently today I'm cool. They're all going to look very similar in setup. Okay. And then let's see what button attributes we could find. Button. Let's go here. Okay, there we go. Button. Oh, there's already an attribute here, so I don't really have to go all the way down, but I'll remind you again where it is if you need to go. You can click the global attributes, or these different attributes are all here too. Okay, it doesn't have to just be global attributes. It can be these, and they mean a whole bunch of different stuff that we're not going to go into today. All right, let's use the type attribute. Okay, type. This type is actually pretty important to input, anything having to do with input. I might make a whole separate video just on that, because if you can attach the type attribute to different things, it will help you make sense. So we're going to say this is a button. There's not, at least my understanding, this could be wrong, but I'm starting to see that if you use the type attribute, there's certain set things that go with that. And if you explore more into W3 schools, we'll maybe do that in another video, you can see what I'm talking about. It might be a little confusing at first, but we're going to say that type equals button. Okay. Now, we're going to see, I don't really know what would happen if I tried to style with some of these. So we're just going to explore it a little bit. I don't know, we might end up falling on our face. I don't know. Okay. I know for sure, because I've done it before, that I can choose the class. Okay. So I've got that one colored by using the interesting. Okay. Let's see if, let's see what happens if, I wonder if I can do anything with that source. I don't know. I don't know. Think this will do anything? I mean, I used interesting, right? So why wouldn't, oh wait, that won't work. Silly goose. That is not going to work, because that's not the purpose of that particular attribute. It's not there for styling. It is there for connecting to a different link or another URL outside of the page or inside of the page. It doesn't really matter. It's a source attribute. So you're not going to use a source attribute to color something. So I'm going to have to find a different way. If I actually want to see what's happening with that image, I might have to find a different way to look at it. I don't know. Let's try if I just do this. Image, background, color, yellow. Will my trick work on this? I don't know. Find out. That's the beauty of CodePen, right? Ah, I did something. See that little yellow box down there? Pretty cool. Okay, so that must be, okay. You know what that is? That's the mini box that holds the place for the image, huh? I bet you. I don't really know for sure, but that's what it looks like to me. Okay, so let's go back and just take a little look at the image. Because that's pretty important. I just saw a tiny little box. It didn't do what some other things had done before. I bet you that's why the image, so often we see it attached to a width and a height attribute, because I'm gonna guess, sure that all of these get some kind of color. Okay, so I'm gonna be really simple, and we're not even gonna deal with any of the attributes. I'm just going to style by tag. So I'm gonna put P, background color, and let's do red. Okay, that's styled by tag. So that means anything that has a P tag, it does not matter if it has 1,600 attributes in there. I don't know if that really could exist or not, but it's just going to notice the P, and it's going to style anything that is a P. Okay, let's just style the H1s. Doesn't matter what the attributes are. Let's put background color just so we can see again what's happening. Let's do orange. Okay, all right. Ooh, something didn't work right there. What did I do? I know something didn't work right because I only expected the H1 to go orange, but everything went orange, and that's not good. Okay, so something must be wrong with my code. So let's go back. Okay, I see. I forgot this stupid little closing tag. That's it. But that's an example of how one tiny piece, the machine didn't know. The machine did not know to stop and end that particular header tag. That's why it did what it did, because that tells the machine, okay, guys, I'm stopping this. Just that tiny little backslash says to the machine, okay, I'm done with this particular H1. So what it really did was continue the whole H1 and thought that all the rest of my code was an H1, which is why when I styled it, I saw that. And I guess for me, that's how I'm kind of fixing my errors before they become too big of an issue. If I see that the colors are wonky, then I know I messed up something with the code. Eventually, when I build the website, you'll see I do take these colors away. They don't stay on there forever, but for now, they're kind of my setup. Okay, background color for LI. I'm just going to style the element. We're going to go yellow. I'm on a rainbow kick here. Oop. Need a semicolon, not a colon. Okay, gotcha. All right, so that's working. That's what I expected to happen. Let's do span. Just styling by element again. Going to attach a background color of red, yellow, or red, orange, yellow, blue. Let's do blue. Blue. This is weird, man. Like, something's with this last line. Like, everything else, like, but until that makes logical sense to me, and then all of a sudden we got these squashy dudes just hanging out. I don't know why. Maybe we'll find out someday. Okay, image. We saw this kind of already, but let's add it back in just so that we know. I'm gonna do a purple, but I always feel like purple doesn't show up very well next to blue, so I'm gonna make it orchid instead. I'll show you too where I'm getting these colors. Actually, I already sent that out in Slack for you guys, but I'll put it down in the comments if anyone needs it. Okay, image is now a light purple color, and we're going to see what else I got to style here. Oh, I gotta do my button. Oh, but you know what? We didn't talk about this before. Do you notice that my content, my content is outside of the box, so something's different. Like, you can't just add content in an image source or an image tag like you can other tag elements. So let's just take that away for now. That way I don't confuse you guys at all, because I don't want that to throw you off, because I didn't really create another box, so there was no other tag there, and that might look like that. So there's where my image would go, and that little purple doodad. Okay, then we got our button left to do something with. Let's see what happens if I try to just style that element. Let's go green. Oops. Machine won't know to read that because I did not give it a property yet. We haven't talked about properties and values, but they honestly work very similar to elements and attributes. Okay. Right, we have some green. Okay. All right, now I notice that I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 boxes. Let's make sure that that actually matches up with what we have here. Okay, some of my alignment's getting a little confusing, so I'm just gonna clean that up a little bit. Sorry guys, slow poke on the iPad here. I don't have all my shortcuts. Okay. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 boxes. Okay. All right, this video is getting a little bit long, so I am going to keep this same code, and we are going to talk about inline and block elements next, so that we kind of understand a little bit about why these are getting squashy.